Good day, viewers. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy the news today. Please feel free to share what you think and feel. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe.
The item on today's order paper is questions addressed to the President. There are 4 supplementary questions on each question. Parties have given an indication of which questions their members wish to pose a supplementary question on. Adequate notice was given to parties for this purpose. The members who will pose supplementary questions will be recognized by the presiding officer. In allocating opportunities for supplementary questions, the principle of fairness, among others, have been applied. When all the supplementary questions have been answered by the President, we will proceed to the next question on the order paper. The first question has been asked by Honorable M. Dudula. The question is how the President intends to leverage the balance sheet of the Republic to direct the accumulated surpluses in financial sector to support the country's infrastructure and industrialization effort. Honorable the President. Honorable members, can you please take your seats?
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, for South Africa to achieve the levels of economic growth it needs, it is essential that government and business work together to scale up investment in infrastructure. This includes undertaking structural reforms to remove the binding constraints of energy supply and inefficient freight and logistics. Government has committed to a very ambitious infrastructure build program. Infrastructure spend by government will encourage and enable greater private sector investment. As government invests, it incentivizes the private sector to follow in suit. And this, we envisage, will happen, as it is happening now, in areas such as electricity generation, electricity distribution, rail stock, as well as water distribution. However, there is an important distinction to be made between public and private resources. Resources held by financial institutions, including those that are held by pension funds, are the funds of pensioners or workers whose hard-earned money will be used for their retirement. They are not state resources. To facilitate infrastructure investment, government needs to provide those savers with a reasonable return and ensure that these funds are safeguarded. So the investments in whatever infrastructure project needs to be prudent. National Treasury amended Regulation 28 of the Pension Funds Act of 2022 to enable longer-term infrastructure investment by retirement funds is relevant here. The amendments that were introduced have a definition of infrastructure and set an upper limit of 45% for investment by pension funds and infrastructure. To further facilitate investment in infrastructure and economic development, the limit between hedge funds and private equity has also been split. There will now be a separate and higher allocation to private equity assets. It is increased from 10% to 15% to allow for greater investments in infrastructure by these entities. In the medium-term budget policy statement of October 2024, the Minister of Finance announced work that is underway on mechanisms to complement the changes to Regulation 28 that were put in place through the development of specific investment vehicles to simplify and incentivize institutional investors. I do believe that details of these mechanisms will be published and better articulated by the Minister as he presents the budget. Now, all this, Honourable Speaker, is happening to facilitate greater investment in infrastructure and to utilize both public and private financial resources to speed up investment in our infrastructure and to make sure that we do indeed have the financial resources to turn South Africa into a building site. And as it is now happening, it is unfolding. We can see the infrastructure spend increasing on an ongoing basis. And I do believe that it will continue doing so up to the level that is envisaged by our National Development Plan. So we are on a good roll in as far as infrastructure investment is concerned. And we will see more and more of infrastructure spend and built, and we will be able to achieve what we have been articulating in as far as infrastructure is concerned. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, President. Honourable Nduli.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Good afternoon to you, honourable members and the President. And thanks, President, for your reply in this regard. But, Mr. President, my own observation is that the pension funds have not taken advantage of the amendment to Regulation 28. Because since that was done in 2022, there hasn't been any tangible investment coming from their direction. So my question is, has the President made any assessment as to why that advantage has not been taken care of? If yes, in your findings or preliminary findings, Mr. President, what are the impediments? And what intervention that, in your own view, may be required to entice the pension funds towards this investment, because we all agree that it is in the interest of the developmental agenda of our country. Thanks, Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Yes, what Honourable Ntuli is talking about is true. There hasn't been much take-up, and in many ways there are a number of impediments, and one of those is the project preparation process. Because in order for projects to be properly funded, they need to be presented as bankable, as sufficiently processed, as to be the type of projects that will, one, be done within budget, within the time frame that's set out, and be properly presented to their own investment committees. Now, one of the weaknesses that we have heard, and this has been articulated over and over again, Minister Ramaphosa, when he was heading Infrastructure South Africa, he worked very diligently in establishing ISA, but also in working on the project preparation process. And one of the things that was done through Investment South Africa, which continues to be done through the Ministry of Public Works and Infrastructure, is to build capacity both at national as well as provincial level, so that projects can be properly assessed and be prepared for investments. Now, this has been one of the key weaknesses that we have had. Financial institutions, both pension funds and others, have been saying, bring us projects that are properly assessed, properly prepared, and we will be able to fund. So in part, the mistake and the fault has been on our side, and now with the regulations clearly articulated, and the Minister of Finance will speak more and more about it when he presents his budget, we've now identified much clearer funding instruments, funding vehicles, but at the same time, project preparation really becomes the key. And we are already seeing all of this beginning to happen. And we also want it to happen not only at national level, but at departmental level as well. So that when a department is allocated funds for infrastructure, they should be able to have a team of people in the department that are going to prepare the project and make it fundable, and then take it to Treasury through the facility we have in Treasury, and finally have it funded by the various institutions, be it the Development Bank of South Africa, where we already have a facility there for project preparation. Honorable Ntuli, I do now believe that more and more projects are going to be properly prepared and they will be able to be implemented. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Alexander.
Thank you. Mr. President, another way of saying leveraging the balance sheet of the Republic is taking other people's money to pay the state bills. Does the President agree that by taking other people's money to cure past ANC government fecal spending habits, he is yet again showing potential investors a red flag, who would rather invest their money in other places where government can seize it? What guarantee can you give the people of South Africa that your position won't change?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Honorable Speaker, I'm afraid that there's a bit of an echo, and I didn't hear the full import of the question, which I'd like to respond to. I don't know how this can be improved, because I had snippets. But I'd like to hear the full question so
Thank
that
you. I'll ask the honorable member, Alexander, to please repeat your question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Another way of saying leveraging the balance sheet of the Republic is by taking other people's money to pay state bills. Does the President agree that by taking other people's money to cure the past ANC government fecal spending habits, he is showing yet another red flag to potential investors, both domestic and foreign, who would rather invest their money in other places where government won't seize it? What guarantees can you give the people of South Africa that this will not happen?
Thank you, Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I've now heard, well, I think in the investment world, when you attract people to come and invest, you are essentially using other people's money, but that money has to be used for the purpose for which it was meant. And it can never be that when you entice people to come and invest their money, and they put money, say, in projects which will go to improving your balance sheet, you then utilize the money for other purposes. And this is precisely what we now are going to be following. As we invite investors to come and invest in funding our infrastructure build, the project preparation process will be ensuring that the money that is put for project built will be utilized for that. I would never see any of that money being utilized for other purposes, because once it is invested in a project, it will be project specific, and what the honorable member is saying will not and should not arise. So I'm sorry to disappoint you. The project preparation process will focus on the projects themselves, and money will be utilized for that purpose. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Honorable Thring.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mr. President, in your previous SONA addresses, you mentioned the need for structural change in our economy to address the numerous challenges our economy faces, including infrastructure challenges. Structural changes refers to the policy changes resulting in a shift of the economy's structure, moving it from low productivity activities to higher productivity, capital and skill-intensive activities across economic sectors. Now, Mr. President, as our economy stutters on 0.6% GDP growth, can you outline succinctly what specific economic structural changes, including policy changes, you have initiated to support South Africa's infrastructure and industrial growth without compromising the pension funds of our South African citizens? Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable the President.
Honorable Speaker, when pension funds will deploy their money or their pensioners or members' money into projects that we envisage, they will be doing so after careful examination, after prudent analysis. So I'm confident that through their investment committees, they will be able to invest in our infrastructure, knowing that their members' monies will not be lost as they invest in our build-up for infrastructure. Now, what we have been saying is our economy does need restructuring. And one of the ways in which we've been pursuing is to introduce structural reforms. We did say that in phase one, we're going to focus on our network industries. Our network industries are now being repositioned. But as we do that, we're also seeking to focus on transformation, the transformation that will make the economy grow on an inclusive basis, leaving no other people behind. We are now going to focus on the second phase of our structural reforms, and that is going to focus on areas such as water, as well as local government, and making our state more capable. Now, local government is important because it delivers services to our people, and that impacts on their livelihoods. But that also gives up opportunities to begin and to deepen the restructuring of our economy as we get our local people, businesses in our towns and in our rural areas and in our townships to become more actively involved in various sectors of our economy. And that process on its own is, yes, working on the restructuring of our economy, an economy that we inherited from the era of apartheid. We are working on it through the various pieces of legislation that we have to ensure that indeed we do move forward with the restructuring process. And this Parliament, this National Assembly, has passed many, many pieces of legislation that are leading us in that direction. So indeed, the restructuring, which is not a one-day event, will continue to take place as we move forward and we also accede to higher levels of economic growth. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Honorable M.A. Maimane.
Honorable Speaker, Mr. President, the National Development Plan proposes that our infrastructure spend ought to be 30% of GDP. As we sit at the moment, we're sitting at 14%, and the public sector is less than that. Mr. President, you went to Johannesburg recently, which, as you speak about the PRC, some of the fund holders live in Johannesburg. I agree with you, Johannesburg is a mess. People can't get electricity, there's load reduction, there's water problems. So, Mr. President, I ask you, if we are going to invest in infrastructure and show people that we want to see 5% GDP growth, is it not time that we place Johannesburg under administration? Or will we wait until it's too late and the people's money has been wasted? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable the President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Yes, I did go to Johannesburg, and in our various interactions with a number of key role players in Johannesburg, we were able to find a way in which Johannesburg can be turned around. And we have seen that in action in another metro, in eThekwini. eThekwini was also one of those metros that was just going downhill. And we were able to interact with various stakeholders, they being business, labor, civil society, local government, provincial government, and national government. And if you like, all those 5 key stakeholders were able to get together, fold their arms, and identify a number of areas in which they can work. We established work streams that had a representation of all these role players, and they worked through the various issues from water to crime to through a number of other issues. And today, eThekwini, of course, with good leadership, is beginning to turn around, and we're already beginning to see great dividends. For me, it was a joy to have a meeting with all stakeholders last year and saw how the business community, the unions, and civil society were all clamoring to get on the podium to outline their plans of recovery for eThekwini. I expect the same to obtain in Johannesburg. Already a meeting with the banks, because Johannesburg is still the capital city of money. The banks themselves are very keen to work with our metro government there to revamp and to revive the city, but more importantly, to make sure that service delivery is delivered in the way that our citizens or our residents in Johannesburg expect. So short of calling for administration, which can also be a very long legislative process, there is now a new energy that has been injected to all stakeholders, be it academics, be it young people. They all came together when I was there, and they committed themselves to working to turn Johannesburg around. And I do believe that Johannesburg will be turned around as all key stakeholders get together and work on specific areas of turnaround, and Johannesburg should be able to return to its former glory. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, President. We now move to question number 2. Question number 2 has been asked by Honorable G. Michalakis. The question is about the measures the government has put in place to maintain a positive relationship with the United States of America towards growing the economy and creating jobs. Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, honorable members. The United States of America remains a strategic as well as a historic partner to our country. South Africa maintains its active engagement with the United States through political, diplomatic, and economic channels. Soon after the establishment of the Government of National Unity last year, the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, as well as the Minister and Deputy Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition, they all undertook official visits to Washington, D.C. for engagement with the administration. They also engaged with members of Congress, business people, as well as academia and think tanks in the United States. Now, following the election of President Trump in November last year, I had a telephone call with him as president-elect to congratulate him on his election and to reaffirm our own commitment as South Africa to strengthening relations between our two countries. Ambassador Ibrahim Rasool has recently been posted to Washington, D.C. for his second stint as our country's envoy to the United States. Ambassador Rasool is on the ground and briefs me almost every other day. He's on the ground with his team, engaging various stakeholders to underscore the importance of deepening economic, political, and cultural relations between these two historic partners, the United States and South Africa. We have taken note of an executive order on recent statements by the current United States administration about South Africa and aspects of our domestic and foreign policy. We have expressed concern about the mischaracterization of the situation in our country and certain of our laws and our foreign policy positions. We will continue to engage the United States of America and other stakeholders to correct this mischaracterization and to ensure that we restore ties between our two countries. A lot of work is underway through various channels to ensure that the relationship is restored. And I'm confident that all the efforts that we are putting in place, both diplomatic, political, and otherwise, will bear fruit. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Honorable Michalakis.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. President, when AGOA goes, what will you say to the tens of thousands of workers, many of them members of your own political ally, COSATU, who work in the motor industry and who will lose their jobs as a direct consequence of previous ANC foreign and domestic policy? Thank you.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The AGOA free trade opportunity that was inaugurated under President Bush has been going on for a number of years. A number of countries on our continent have been given opportunities to participate, and some have had their participation withdrawn. And as they've had their participation withdrawn, they have had to find ways in which they can enhance their exports. Participation in AGOA is not at our behest. It is at the behest of the United States. And what we seek to do, and have done so for many years, is to demonstrate that we are a good trading partner to the United States and indeed to many other countries around the world, and that we do adhere to rules and regulations that are put in place to enable our participation in trade agreements, whether they are bilateral or multilateral. There is going to be a review of the AGOA process, and last year, you might recall, we held the African and US AGOA forum here in our own country, and we were able, together with many other African countries, to demonstrate that we do derive value from AGOA, but we also give value. We export, but we also import from the United States. So it is a two-way process, as it is with many other countries around the world. As it is now, we continue not only in anticipation of an AGOA initiative, but we continue to expand our export market for a variety of goods around the world. And as we visit various countries, we do actively promote our own country so as to ensure that our reliance on various markets becomes a multiplicity of engagements. In a few days, the Deputy President will be going to Japan, and he will take with him a number of deputy ministers and ministers, and what they will be seeking to do is to open up more market space for South African goods in the East. And we will be doing so as well in a number of other visits in the Middle East, in the East. And as you know, China has become our biggest trading partner, and we want to sell more. And President Xi Jinping has been saying to us, we want to buy more goods from South Africa. And indeed, various other leaders in the Middle East have been saying precisely that. But we want to continue trading with the United States because we sell minerals, we sell vehicles, we sell agricultural products to them. So we do not take the opportunity that we have, as it is called, Africa Growth Opportunity Initiative. We don't take that opportunity lightly. But at the same time, we want to also demonstrate that, yes, we have value to add. As you may want to know, when I spoke to President Trump, when he was president-elect, congratulating him, I informed him that we value participating in AGOA, but I also informed him that we also sell critical minerals to the United States, and the relationship is fairly balanced. So many workers benefit from our AGOA participation, but at the same time, many other American workers also benefit from what we sell to AGOA. So it is balanced, and we want to see that balance and the mutual benefit carrying on into the future. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, President. Honorable Mukutu.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Mr. President, there are fly-by-nights such as AfriForum and Solidarity, who without any political mandate, but they are narrow interest groups who want to hijack our foreign policy by propagating misinformation to hamstring South Africa from advancing transformation policies. Mr. President, what is your view on AfriForum's and Solidarity misinformation crusade in the USA? And do you think their actions are treasonous? Thank you.
Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I have expressed my concern and my disappointment at what AfriForum and Solidarity have been doing in spreading misinformation about their own country in the United States. And I regard that as being non-patriotic, because when you are a patriot of a country, the best you do is to resolve the problems or issues you have in country rather than begin to damage the sovereignty of your country by running off to other countries and expecting them to take action against your own country. Because in part, through what they have done, they have instigated the action that is now being taken against the people of South Africa. And the fact whether that is treasonous or not is a matter that obviously our law enforcement agencies need to look at. The National Prosecuting Agency needs to look at that. But I take a dim view, in fact, a very negative view of what has ensued as they run around the world, bad-mouthing their own country and putting their country into disrepute, not by things that are happening, but by misinformation. And that also leads to dividing our own nation, because what they are seeking to do is to spread racist statements about their own country, when we are involved in building a nation out of the throes of a very divided situation that we suffered under. So I am hugely disappointed and take a dim view of what AfriForum and Solidarity have done.
Thank you, President. The next question will be asked by Honorable Douglas.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Many American corporations operating in South Africa dominate key economic sectors such as mining, finance, and technology, often benefiting foreign shareholders more than local workers. Furthermore, South Africa is vulnerable to US dollar fluctuations, with over 70% of our trade conducted in US dollars. Rising US interest rates have worsened our debt burden and trade deficit, while South African businesses remain exposed to currency and political volatility. What has your government done to commit to expanding local currency trade with BRICS and African partners to reduce our dependency on the United States of America and strengthen our economic resilience and the rand?
Thank you, Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. We continue to strengthen our own economic resilience, and we do so in a variety of ways, by spreading our involvement with many other countries, our membership of BRICS, and indeed our participation in the G20, and also when we keep being invited to the G7, and our membership of the G77 and the non-aligned movement, means that as a country we seek to participate in various forums to advance the interests of South Africa and to make our own economy resilient. And that is why our foreign policy is about advancing our own national interests, first and foremost, and also ensuring that South Africa becomes more and more of a resilient country. The issue of currency has been flighted in the BRICS discussions. That is underway, and of course the US dollar and other European currencies continue to be currencies that are utilized in trade and what have you. And in the end, our own economy has to be strengthened so that even as we trade with various other countries, we trade as a strong economy, an economy that we are strengthening. In a few days, or a day or so, 2 days, we're going to be having a summit with the European Union. The European Union and South Africa regularly have their own summits. This is now our turn to host them here in South Africa. And in that summit, we are also going to discuss issues of economic growth and trade and how we continue relating to each other at a political level. And through those engagements, what we seek to do is to advance our own country's interests. And what we also seek to do is to be seen as a partner of equal value, a sovereign country, a country that is proud of what it stands for in the world. And for us to have the whole of Europe coming to South Africa to engage with us is something that we need to recognize and to value. And this will be a forerunner to us hosting the G20 in November this year, where we will be bringing more countries to South Africa to interface with us and the rest of our continent on the interests that we seek to promote. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable President. Honourable Throlip.
Honourable Speaker, some members in this Parliament, including ANC ministers, believe that we can exist in splendid isolation
of the troop contributing countries. Now, this Troika, having deliberated on the report of the Defence Subcommittee, felt that we should make recommendations that will be put forward to the summit of the SADC heads of states to be convened soon this week. South Africa remains committed to working with fellow SADC countries to contribute to an inclusive as well as a negotiated settlement on the conflict in the DRC. In working together with the other countries, particularly through SADC, we are assured that the decisions that are taken and the initiatives that are taken to ensure that there is peace and there is a durable ceasefire in the DRC will enhance the proper cessation of hostilities that will lead in the end, yes, to the withdrawal of the various troops that are from troop contributing countries as peace will be installed in that part of the DRC. So at the next Heads of State meeting, we will be deliberating on the next steps that need to be taken in this regard. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable President. I have been informed that the Honourable Mashlaule will take charge of the first question on behalf of the Honourable Chabane in accordance with Rule 137 sub 10A. I now recognise the Honourable Mashlaule.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Honourable President, on the 28th of February 2025, the UN Relief Coordinator's Office reported that the humanitarian situation continues to deteriorate as M23 rebels push deeper into the region, capturing key towns and displacing thousands of people. What is the impact of this advancement of the rebels into the region on the initiative of ceasefire and cessation of hostilities as decided by the SADC EAC summit?
The Honourable President.
The situation in the eastern DRC, particularly in Sake and Goma, continues to be precarious. And that is where our troops are located. And the situation is quite tenuous. But at the same time, the cessation of hostilities is holding. Now, through the various summits and meetings and discussions that we are holding, from the chiefs of defense force to ministers to the heads of states, we are hoping to consolidate that and to halt any further movement by any of the armies that are surging forward. So right now, when there will be a meeting of SADC and thereafter followed up by a joint meeting of EAC and SADC, we are hoping that we will be able to have a more durable ceasefire that will lead to a permanent cessation of hostilities. The good thing is that meetings are now underway, and further meetings are being planned that will also involve the heads of states through the facilitation of those either former heads of states that have been identified or current heads of states. Those meetings are now going on, and they will go on, and they will have a positive bearing on what now needs to happen in the DRC going forward. We are bent on ensuring that peace is installed in the Eastern DRC so that the displacement of people should also cease and the deaths of people should cease, and in the end our troops should come back home. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Hutton.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, the President ordered our troops to deploy as the major component of the SAMI DRC mission in the DRC to support the armed forces of the DRC, the FADRC, to neutralize M23 and other negative groups. However, from the January the 23rd to the 25th, a major incident happened. Our troops, after fierce fighting, were neutralized by M23 and are encircled by M23 and without any logistical support whatsoever. They are at the mercy of M23. The FADRC abandoned us. The Malawian forces are withdrawing, and the Tanzanian forces, the other component of the SAMI DRC mission, is nowhere to be found. So, and may I add that any escalation in this stage in North Kivu...
Honourable Hutton, your time is running out.
Let me then put the question, Honourable President. When and how will our soldiers and secondly our main battle equipment be withdrawn from the DRC?
Thank you,
and is it
Hutton.
not time that the President, as the Commander-in-Chief, inform the nation about the truth about the situation of our troops in the DRC?
Hutton, your time has expired. The Honourable President.
From what I think I heard, as Honourable Hatting had run out of his time, yes, information has been presented by our Minister of Defence on the situation of our troops. They are located in Sake and in Goma, and as I said, they are in quite a precarious situation right now. But as it is, the peace is holding. The troops, much as they are just located at the airport, they are not being fired on, and in Goma, there is a sense of peace, and we want to consolidate that. And the discussions that are ongoing now are aimed at ensuring that we have a durable, as I said, a cessation of hostilities. Yes, facing all these challenges has meant that we have to be in discussion with the various other armies in the area, including the M23, about a variety of issues, including logistics, the movement, so for instance, of food stuff or food supplies, and indeed the provision of water and electricity. So all that has been happening on an interactive basis. And a peace that should now be fully consolidated is in the offing. And we are hopeful that once that has ensued, we will be able to indeed get our troops back home, as the other nations also yearn for the end of hostilities, so that their own troops should go home. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
The third supplementary, Honourable Manyi. Honourable President, you may take your seat, please. There is a point of order. Honourable Manyi.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, the point of order, or rather clarification, is on you. Whether will you give the other members the same dispensation of speaking past their time? Because the questioner had gone past his time and you were graceful to him. Will you be graceful to everyone? Thank you.
Yes, Honourable Manyi, I will try to be graceful when it is necessary and required. Honourable President, we will proceed. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Matiase.
Thank you so much, Deputy Speaker. Mr. President, the tragic resolution which gives chiefs and generals of the defense the authority to provide direction in the conflict in the Eastern DRC is an abdication of responsibility and surrendering political and diplomatic responsibilities of SADC heads of states to an unelected military officials. How is this resolution advancing the AU Agenda 2063, which commits to the silencing of guns and ending all wars, conflict and prevent genocide by 2030? Mr. President, how do you intend to handle and deal with a belligerent, intransigent President Kagame, who openly challenged you to go into a battlefield and we seem not to be willing to go there, and yet you are still keeping our soldiers, sons and daughters in the battlefield? We want answers to these questions, Mr. President.
The Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. The matter of silencing the guns on the African continent is a matter that is being handled by the African Union. And as it is now, the conflict in the DRC is also being handled by the African Union. And in this regard, the chairperson of the African Union, who happens to be President Lorenzo of Angola, is also one of the key facilitators in ensuring that this from our land in Ukraine and Russia. We will be continuing our engagement in that, and that engagement has continued both through our envoys and through channels that have been established and channels that continue to work more effectively when they are not in the public glare, but all the time seeking to act in accordance with our principles, with the value system that we have embraced as a country. So, as South Africa, we will always be ready to foster peace, to talk to people who may be at different ends of the pole, trying to bring them together to ensure that there's a peace process. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Question number 5 has been asked by the Honourable J.S. Malema. The question is about whether the President's call to Elon Musk, an unelected businessman, was used as a diplomatic channel, and if so, what role did the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation play in arranging the meeting and the subsequent call? The Honourable President.
A very simple and straightforward answer to that. Yes, I have spoken to Mr. Elon Musk. Yes, the Minister of International Relations has either been in occasions when I have met with Mr. Elon Musk, if you want to know, we together with Minister of Trade and Industry and Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, met with Mr. Elon Musk when I went to the United Nations General Assembly last year. He came to my hotel room and we had a discussion, and the discussion revolved around his would-be investments. So did I speak to him? Yes, recently the answer is yes. And this we do because we continue to engage with a variety of people through diplomatic channels, as well as we engage with them through various constituencies in countries that we have relations with. And as I've indicated through this conversation that I had, we were able to have a discussion on what was a mischaracterization of what was being said about our country. And he being a person who is quite, I would say, influential, whether one likes it or not, as we interact with various people, business, academic, research, or otherwise, we do interact with people who we believe are able to discuss issues with some people in very official categories. So we do talk to non-state actors as well as state actors. And we will continue to engage with people both inside and outside of South Africa to promote our country and to promote the interests of our country. There's just nothing sinister about the various discussions that we hold with a variety of people. Even on an ongoing basis, when people make contact with us, yes, we talk to them, but we always make sure that our foreign policy positions are advanced and they are not undermined or diluted. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Malema.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Mr. President, I don't know wittingly or unwittingly, when you were answering the question about our relationship with the USA, not once have you mentioned DERCO or Minister of International Relations. And this is as a result of you having met Elon Musk during the UN General Assembly and knowing very well the views of Elon Musk about South Africa, racist, white supremacist views about South Africa, which led to you meeting him because you thought you were going to clarify those issues. Unrepentant racist became emboldened and then made more bad remarks about South Africa even after meeting you physically. You still saw a need to go outside the diplomatic channels and made a contact with an individual, not using diplomatic relations or mechanism within which we resolve diplomatic disputes as South Africa. Don't you think you individually have emboldened white people to undermine us, and you have single-handedly destroyed the diplomatic relations of South Africa with other countries, and you have destroyed and juniorized the Department of International Relations? Mr. President. And Elon Musk, and worse, Elon Musk, you organized a meeting with him or that telephone conversation through his immoral father, politically, economically, and otherwise. A man who has engaged in business in South Africa through illegal means, even when he has admitted to do so. Those are the type of characters you can't speak to. Imagine, Mr. President, had they said Donald Trump called the Guptas during that time. What were you going to say? You are going to say that Guptas are an independent state actor. You are not going to say that. You are going to feel undermined. And that's exactly what you have done. What are you saying about established practices of resolving issues in a diplomatic way and diplomatic channels in South Africa? Do you have a full confidence in the Minister of DERCO and the department itself? You speak about an ambassador Washington
Malema, you are now
or
half
New
a
York.
second over your time.
That ambassador belongs to the Department of International Relations. Instead of talking about international relations, leadership, and the department, you talk about ambassador. But when you talk about
Honourable
DRC,
Malema, your
you talk
time
about
has now
Minister of
expired.
Defense is doing 1, 2, 3. You don't say ambassador in DRC is doing 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
Honourable President. Honourable President. Please proceed. Yes,
Oh.
please.
I was waiting for you to give me the cue, Deputy Speaker, after that tirade. Now, Honorable Malema, ke kgopela ntho e le nngwe fela. O ska leka go lwantsha president le minister wa gagwe. Bjalo wena o nyaka go kena ka mogare. Taba ya go šoma ga ka le minister wa ka a e batle wena. Emela ka thoko. Emela ka thoko ka obane wa bona ha re le di meeting tsa rena tsa cabinet kapa di thing kapa au yo wena o ba o se gona le gore re shumisana byang ka bane minister o re ha fetsa go etsa dilo tsa gagwe a bolela le batho o amputsa le nna ke fetsa go bolela le batho ke a mmotsa. So wena bjale o leka go kena hare ha rena nka se dumele ntho ewe le ganyane nka se dumele. So we work in a very interactive way, and as I said to you, there is just no way we can say we don't talk to certain people who are either non-state actors or state actors. The discipline that I have always followed, if you care to know, is to always keep my colleagues informed, and they always keep me informed. Be they ministers or deputy ministers, we always know when we do certain things that have to do with the Republic of South Africa. So ke fella gona mowe o ska re lwantsha ke a gopela.
Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker.
Honourable President, it seems that there is a point of order. If you can please just take your seat. Yes, Honourable Member, Honourable
Thank you,
Matwe.
Deputy Speaker. With all due respect, the President did not answer the question. Instead, he went on and on educating us about his relations with the Minister of South Africa. You might have appointed him, but he's serving for the people of South Africa. And when there's something wrong that you are doing, allow your members of parliament to tell you and show you that this is wrong. Because you can't have the department that has been undermined the way you are undermining it. The minister is there for a purpose. He's there to have interactions with the international community, not for you to be engaging with criminals, Mr. President. So please, Deputy Speaker, with due respect, the President did not answer the question. We ask respectfully for the President to answer the question.
Thank you, Honourable Matwe. That is up for the President to decide whether he has answered it. He is the replier to this question. Honourable President, there is another point of order before we proceed. Honourable Manye.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Mine is a different one. I'm just worried about the mics here. You know, when Honourable Malema was speaking, you put your mic on, your lips were moving, but there was no sound. Just now you will say somebody disregarded your ruling. Can we get the IT people to attend to the sound, to the mic issue? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Manye. Yes, indeed, there is a little bit of a problem with the switch here. I'm quite aware of that, so I am concentrating that it switches on before I speak. Honourable President, please proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. It's a simple answer. In whatever I do not seek to undermine any of the colleagues I work with. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable President. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Gigaba.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. There is obviously an urgent need for a new multi-pronged strategy in relation to the new geopolitical risks that we are facing, especially in light of recent US elections and the treasonous actions of AfriForum and Solidarity. Mr. President, can you provide light to the nation as to measures government is taking to ensure that we harness national consensus, patriotism, and solidarity and responsibility, including that of people of South African origin living abroad, to persuade them to contribute positively towards projecting South Africa positively globally, advance our national interests, and combat anti-South Africa and anti-transformation propaganda? Thank you.
The Honourable President.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, thank you. Yes, Honourable Kigaba, we should all, as South Africans, be projecting a very positive image about our country. And this much we have said, particularly to people who, either through the work they do, through their travels, have an opportunity to interact with people in various other countries as they travel, as they work elsewhere, and indeed in whatever they say. We often say that be proud of your country. We are a sovereign nation, and we stand very proud amongst nations of what we are and what we've been able to achieve since the dawn of our democracy. Let us speak about all that, and whatever problems and challenges we have, we should have opportunities to discuss them here at home. We have said that incessantly also to the business community who are able to travel all over the world, and that message seems to have been heeded and is being heeded as we speak now, because they are coalescing around what South Africa is and what South Africa is all about. And we have not had much of negative talk from them about their own country. And indeed, in our engagements with people, South Africans who are in the diaspora, we also seek to foster that type of message. When I've traveled to various countries, particularly in the US, we do take time to meet South Africans who are in the diaspora, who often say that we want to continue engaging with the leadership of the country so that we can hear exactly what progress is being made, so that we can beam it much louder where we are. So this is a mission that all of us should take up. Wherever we have time to interact with various people, let us be projecting that type of messaging to the world, to those that we interact with. So thank you very much, Honourable Kigaba, for putting that firmly on the agenda, and I do believe that it should be firmly put on the national agenda so that all of us as South Africans should act out our patriotism, and by doing so we are able to demonstrate to